All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my friend Alice Ollstein. Alice is an independent journalist and Washington, D.C. based radio reporter. You can follow her on Twitter at Alice Ollstein. Alice, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks. Good morning.
All right, so Alice, you had a recent report that you did for Feature Story News about how the government shutdown is actually not affecting the spying of the NSA, but it's in fact actually affecting the oversight of the spying. Tell us all about it.
Yes. So as with a lot of agencies, some of the core functions, in this case, surveillance, are continuing and the funding is continuing, but all of the mechanisms that allow the public to have any sort of transparency and oversight, such as the Freedom of Information Act requests that people file, and recently those have led to major revelations with the NSA spying. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, through FOIA lawsuits, was able to get access to some incredible documents that really shone a lot of light on it. All of that is suspended during the government shutdown. You cannot file FOIA applications. They will not be processed during this entire time. And because those lawsuits and applications can take months or even years, this is sort of slowing down the whole process a lot. Similarly, the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, which the president started after all of the Snowden documents and the revelations came forward and people really began having a public outcry, that board is suspending its activities. It was supposed to have one of its first open meetings this week where members of the public could actually show up and express concerns and demand answers about certain things. That was put on hold. Efforts in Congress to have some reforms have been put on hold. There's several different bills to restrain the NSA's power to collect, bulk information, phone, emails of U.S. citizens domestically. And that process, there were supposed to be hearings and markups, and there were some hearings this week, but that whole process has been put pretty much on hold as well. So a lot of privacy advocates are very concerned that what always seems to be the first to go in a crisis are these very important transparency and oversight mechanisms.
Yeah, and again, it's really frustrating because, I mean, clearly, I think most people who listen to my show think that the oversight on the NSA is obviously already very, very lacking, and it's clearly not enough when you look at what's actually come down. But even the bare minimum oversight that's happening, and this isn't on the fact on the journalist side. However, there are a lot of people in the mainstream journalist angle who really have done a horrible and continue to do a horrible job of reporting on this. But just the minimum oversight. And when you talk about the Civil Liberties Oversight Board, even that can't even get going, and that's even, in my opinion, not enough. But they can't. Even that little minimal bit of oversight is actually being shut down. Right,
exactly. People are very critical of this board for being, staffed with insiders, the president's insiders and administration, government insiders, and not really a lot of outside, critical independent view there. But things like this public meeting that was supposed to happen last Friday could have been an important opportunity for the public to have some sort of chance to weigh in and push the conversation towards reform.
You actually did cover the actual hearing that happened in the Senate with NSA Director Alexander, and there were some pretty interesting revelations that actually came right around that time. Would you mind discussing some of the latest when it comes to the NSA? Because there was actually some pretty big breaking news when it comes to what and actually was slightly discussed at the Senate hearing.
Right. There were two major revelations right around the time of the government shutdown. So again, not a good time to cancel all FOIA and public hearings because I think people really want to know about these two major things. So they were both revealed by the New York Times, big investigations. One of them is about a program that the NSA says they ended already, and the other is a program that is apparently still ongoing. So I'll talk about the one that ended first. It's a program to collect information from cell phone towers about people's exact location. You know, when you have a smartphone and you go in the maps to Google Maps, if you're lost, there's a little blue dot that says where you are, helps you get unlost from GPS. Now, that data is not private. It is shared with the phone company, obviously, and we know the phone companies share lots of data with the government. So they said this was a pilot program, like an experimental test program that ran for just a few years to collect that location data. They said none of it was ever like queried or used, but it was still collected, and the public did not know that. And so they said that process was over, but they did say they have the authority to restart it at any time. They promised to inform Congress of that fact. Whether or not Congress would then inform us is up in the air. We don't know. So
again, the NSA claims that they tried it and then they've stopped it, but they still claim the actual authority to collect all of the cell phone location data. So which essentially, your cell phone tracks wherever the heck you go. If you have your GPS on, it down to the, a few yards in either direction. But even if you don't have the GPS on, they can get a fairly accurate location just from where you are in terms of cell phone towers. The NSA claims that they do have the authority to collect your location data. But did they say how long they have the right to store it? Is it like a lot of this stuff as long as they feel like it? Did we have any actual insight of what they claim is the right for them to actually keep this data?
Well, on the collection side, it's tied to their claims about how they can get other information from our phone calls and our emails and all of our electronic communications, which is that their argument is it's not a Fourth Amendment violation because we are voluntarily giving up that information to a third party like Google Maps or like Verizon phone, and therefore we cannot be angry if that third party shares it with the government. A lot of people do not agree with that. They don't understand that that is an implicit part of owning a cell phone. So that whole argument is going on, and it's going on in Congress. There are bills that would end that authority. So that's on the collection side. On the storage side, it's really unclear what sets of data are stored by which government agencies and for how long. One agency could say, oh, we hold it for this many years and we delete it, or we delete it immediately, but we know that they're sharing it with other agencies, so we don't really know what is going on. And that is why the FOIA and the oversight process are so important, so we can really nail down where our data is going, what it's being used for, and how long, because with these very important journalistic investigations that are going on, it's been revealed that, all of this domestic surveillance has been shared with the DEA, which, the Drug Enforcement Administration, which
were instructed to lie about where they got it as well. So, which is also another very troubling aspect of that.
Right, absolutely. And so this is all sort of under the justification of national security and terrorism, but then they're also going after drug crimes. So it is very unclear who is getting their hands on this, for how long it's stored, and that's, a reason that people really need to keep pushing to find all that out.
And you mentioned there was a second revelation that came out at the same time. What was the second one that is supposedly still going on?
So the investigation in the New York Times found that, and this was based on Edward Snowden's leaked documents, that the NSA is sort of mapping the social connections of Americans through some data that is public, that is just out there, social media profiles, certain kinds of records business records and other things, tax records, along with data that they have to, get through their authorities, such as the PRISM program that allows all that electronic data collection. And that is used to do something called contact chaining, which is to link all those things together to be able to sort of profile a person to allegedly investigate ties to terror networks or some sort of national security threat. But privacy groups are very concerned about this and feel that it is a violation of privacy.